Hi, this is Adam from MakerState, back with another Scratch Skills video. In this video, I'm going to talk about blocks and scripts, which are what we use to create our programs and our code in Scratch. So they're a very important part of Scratch, and they'll be where we do most of our work in Scratch. Okay? So again, blocks and scripts, we use blocks to write scripts, I should say, and scripts are what we use to control our sprites and get them to do all the sorts of different movements and interactions and other things that we want them to do. Okay? So to access scripts, you can click on a sprite and then click on the scripts tab in the center of the screen, and you'll see all these blocks. We call this center area the block palette. Okay? And we have many different categories of blocks, and I'll talk about these categories in a moment, but any of these blocks can be moved over to the right into this scripting area, and it's in this area that we actually build or write these scripts by connecting blocks together. So I can quickly connect a when space key pressed block to a move 10 steps block and press my space bar, and now we see my cat starting to move across the screen a little 10 pixels at a time as I press the space bar. Okay? So let's talk about these different categories of blocks. We have motion, which is the default one that you'll land on when you open up scripts, and these blocks all deal with moving sprites. Okay, we have some blocks that are just general, steps, which these steps refer to pixels. We have turning in degrees, and then further down we have a bunch of blocks that deal with X and Y coordinates. If X and Y coordinates are confusing or new to you right now, we'll cover them more in depth in a later video, but these are all different blocks that will help you move your sprites. Next we have looks, and this deals with everything from saying and thinking, which are some dialogue blocks you can use, to visibility, showing and hiding, costumes and backdrops, and then graphic effects like changing colors, changing size, the layering of your sprites. So this controls kind of the visual features of your sprites. Next we have sound blocks, and these blocks all deal with making sounds. So these top 3 blocks, play sound or stop sounds, deal with this sound tab over here, which we'll talk about more in depth in another video, but you can add sounds here in this sound tab and then play them through these sound blocks, or these blocks below, which allow you to create music using code in Scratch, which is a really cool feature. Next we have the pen blocks, and this is a block that allows you to basically draw on your screen in real time. So you can kind of place a stamp or place a pen down and then have it set to a different color or a different size and have it draw on your screen algorithmically using code. And again, all these categories we're going to talk about much more. I'm just giving you a very high level overview of what these categories are right now. In data, we don't see any blocks when we open it because we need to make variables in order to use these data blocks. So data deals exclusively with variables. Then we have event blocks on the top of the right-hand side, and these blocks are extraordinarily important, okay? And you'll see that they have these rounded tops on them, which kind of make them unique from most of the other blocks in Scratch. And these are important because these signify that this is how we start our script. You see how I started this short script over here with a rounded when space key pressed block. The rounded nature of these blocks means that no other block can connect above them, and therefore these blocks will be the top of the chain in whatever scripts we write. So these blocks are very important, especially early on, for learning how to begin your scripts. Okay, so when space key pressed or when green flag pressed, this green flag referring to this green flag above the stage, those blocks are very important for beginning these scripts. Following that, we have control, and these blocks are, maybe if you've programmed them in some other programming languages, this is where you might actually recognize some concepts. These are kind of your classic computer science functions in some ways. Ideas for loops and repeating things, if-then statements, if-then-else statements. We call those conditional statements. And then down at the bottom, we have stop, which is an important block for stopping scripts, and as well as a wait block up here, which is also very useful, and then some cloning blocks for creating copies and clones of sprites. So those are really fun and very useful. Next we have sensing blocks, and these deal with interactions between sprites, so we can sense if sprites are touching one another, if particular colors are touching one another. We can tell the distance between sprites. We can tell things about our mouse or about keyboard keys that are pressed, sensing input from our users, right? Then we have some sensing blocks that deal with video and sound, and some other just general time and timers and different ways to connect to the hardware of our computer and to connect with interactions from the user. So these are very useful blocks. So these are often used in conjunction with these control blocks. Similarly, we have operators, which are also often used alongside or inside of control blocks. And these are all of our math functions. So here we have plus, minus, multiply, and divide on top, pick random, greater than equals, or less than equals greater than, I should say, and, or, and not, which are logic blocks, and then some functions for working on strings of letters, joining strings of letters, and some other math functions down here. So these are really important for calculating things and adding math into our programs, which can be really, really useful. And finally, we have more blocks, which they're, again, similar to data aren't any. We can make a block, and in more blocks, you actually define your own blocks by writing instructions using other blocks and then saving kind of a group of instructions as a new block. So that's a pretty advanced feature in Scratch. We'll get to that much later in this Scratch Skills series, but it's good to know about. If you find yourself writing the same script over and over, maybe you turn that script into a block and then you can recall it really quickly. Okay? So those are just an overview to all of our blocks. It's also very important to note that different sprites or backdrops have different scripts. So if I click on my dinosaur doesn't have any scripts right now, while my cat still has this 1 space key and move 10 steps. So that's why when I press the space bar, my cat moves and my dinosaur does not. If I wanted to add a different script to the dinosaur, maybe if I said when space key pressed, forever turn 15 degrees, now I'm pressing my space bar and my cat is moving forward and I've started to spin my dinosaur, and that's going to happen forever, or at least until I press this red stop sign right there, which we can use to stop any active scripts. Okay, so that's going to be it for this video. We're going to get deeper into all these categories and using these blocks later in this Scratch Skills series. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you back for the next one. Okay, bye.